Hello, dear participants. I would like to welcome you to this info session of the Life Clean Energy Transition sub-program. And I would like to guide you a little bit through some of the elements linked to energy efficiency. So as you can see in the next slide, the European Green Deal is the main priority of the current European Commission, together with the recovery. As you know, it is more than a plan to tackle climate change, but rather the new European growth strategy that aims to transform the EU into the first climate neutral continent by 2050 with a modern, sustainable, resource efficient and competitive economy. And what is very important is that we don't want to leave anyone behind. And within this context, the Union has agreed on a climate law, rendering the commitment to reach the climate neutrality by 2050 legally binding. And also the objective to decrease greenhouse gas emissions in the European Union by 55% has been recognized. And this is, as you know, a substantial increase to the 40% that we have at the moment. And in order to reach this objective, the Commission is putting in place many actions, and amongst those, the Commission is reviewing the relevant energy and climate legislation in the course of this year. And this includes both the Energy Efficiency Directive and the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. And both of these acts are part of the so-called Fit for 55 program or package, which the Commission will adopt partially on the 14th of July and partially towards the end of the year. Energy efficiency as you can see, a key role by having these two very important acts in two different moments, because energy efficiency is a key player in the energy transition. And why is energy efficiency a key area of action? We can see these in the next slide. And in fact, it is a necessary element for the full decarbonization of the EU economy. And without energy efficiency, these cannot be reached. It is in fact a part of every decarbonization scenario. And in this context, I would also like to recall the so-called energy efficiency first principle that has been recognized as a guiding principle in the EU energy policy, and that has been included in the European Green Deal. In fact, in the European Green Deal, it is clearly indicated that energy efficiency needs to be prioritized. And in order to reach this objective, one of the actions the Commission is taking is to adopt a recommendation and guidelines to make the energy efficiency principle operational. And these guidelines are to be adopted together with the Fit for 55 package in mid-July. And as I mentioned, also there is the revision of the Energy Efficiency Directive, which is indeed a key part of this package. But of course, as we can see in the next slide, there is an important additional element in the EU policy towards the context, to address the context, the political and social context that we are living today. So on the one side, indeed, European Green Deal, and on the other side, the second element is the green recovery. And in fact, out of the total 1.8 billion euros that are part of the Next Generation EU and of the MFF, the Multi-Annual Financial Framework, about 30%, which is around 550 billion, have been earmarked for climate actions. And as you know, this is quite a substantial amount of money, and it is also interesting to underline the fact that is more than double than the resources that were dedicated to climate actions in the EU budget 2014-2020. And I think that this underlines the importance of taking actions in this area. And again, within this framework, as we can see in the next slide, the main EU facility that has been established is the so-called Recovery and Resilience Facility, which is by now, I think, familiar to everyone, that will support also energy efficiency measures in the next years. And the idea is to make available to the member states a total of 672.5 billion euros between grants and loans. And within this context, what is key is the work done to establish the recovery and resilience plans. As you know, every member state has to prepare one, and the Commission has been assessing them. Some have already been approved by the Commission, and the others are coming. But it has been a very big exercise from the side both of the member states and from the Commission side. So it's a collective work to make all the funds available within the Recovery and Resilience Facility really, let's say, useful and directed to where the needs are, including especially in relation to climate change and the energy transition. And of course, these has a lot of implications, positive implications to address energy poverty, which is an important element in this framework. However, I mean, you see that there is quite a big amount of public funds, but as we can see in the next slide, public funds are not sufficient, even if they are at the level that we had never seen before, is really unprecedented. But still, it is not sufficient. There is the need to have more funds available in order to reach the 55 decarbonization target by 2030. And therefore, we need a whole range of support instruments and framework conditions to trigger private investments to, let's say, add to the public funds in order to reach, indeed, this objective. And the EU support to the clean energy transition is quite wide and could therefore be, let's say, categorized as follows. First of all, there is the support to co-finance direct investment in member states and regions, and this will be channeled through the recovery funds, as well as through the cohesion policy funds. And also let's say, the most coal and carbon intensive regions, also through the Just Transition Fund. Then the second important category is the support to de-risk private investments and to prepare their large pipeline, which is provided mainly through the European Investment Bank under the common umbrella program InvestEU in the form of financial instruments and technical assistance. In particular, the Commission will continue financing project development assistance to trigger energy efficiency investments and the creation of one-stop shops through the ENER facility. As you know, ENER is a successful initiative, is the main technical assistance facility for energy efficiency, and has proved to be a very successful tool to address key barriers to prevent finance and to trigger real investments for energy efficiency and building renovation. And the experience has been so good that it is something that we are suggesting to member states to think about the establishment of ENER, national ENER, so similar to what is happening at EU level, but dedicated to the national context. And this could provide a closer to the citizens, a closer to the consumers, investors, and so on, system of technical assistance. So the third category that I would like to mention concerns the support to research and innovation, which is provided through Horizon Europe, and that contains in particular Cluster 5, which is dedicated to climate, energy, and mobility. And within this cluster, the so-called Destination 4 is dedicated to energy efficiency and decarbonization of the energy demand side, mainly buildings and industry, obviously. So again, very targeted funds also in the context of research and innovation. And finally, the fourth category that I would like to mention to you today is the LIFE program that we are presenting to you today. And in particular, it's a clean energy transition sub-program that will focus on addressing barriers and creating the enabling market and the regulatory conditions to accelerate a demand-side-driven energy transition. And as we can see in the next slide, this clean energy transition sub-program will continue the successful EU funding activities in the field of energy efficiency and renewables energy at the consumer side. You know that we had actions previously funded through the Horizon 2020 program. It was the Energy Challenge, which was a Societal Challenge 3. And the LIFE program, the Clean Energy Transition sub-program, will continue actions that were already part of Horizon 2020. And this Horizon 2020 in itself was a successor of activities funded under the Intelligent Energy Europe program, which ran, as many of you know, from 2004 to 2013. The reason why I mentioned that is because although, let's say, the name is changing of the program used to support energy efficiency and renewables at the consumer side, it is, let's say, an area where the Commission has been working already for quite a lot of time. And we have been adapting these funding instruments to the needs as they developed over the years to make sure that they were as efficient, as effective, and as close to the citizens and to the consumers as possible. And as regards the clean energy transition, it will fund with almost 1 billion euros 7 years of enabling actions for energy efficiency and renewable policy, with the idea of focusing in particular on the energy demand side and aiming at removing the barriers that have been preventing enough investments to reach these very important areas that are market barriers in particular. And it will also, let's say, aim at mobilizing investments, improving skills, increasing awareness of citizens and consumers, also through education and empowerment of energy consumers. So as you can see, we have quite a lot coming up in the next years. I hope you will find these info days interesting and useful, and we are looking forward to working with all of you in the next years. Thank you very much.